I 27M found out that my spouse 25F of almost 3 years cheated. I'm more lost and confused than angry right now. Story 1. I'm not in the best headspace right now, so grammar, spelling and formatting might be a little off. The rage or another angry feelings will kick in later, I'm sure. I noticed a few things around the house. The couch was closer to the wall. I keep it away from it because it covers the vents otherwise. A water jug was constantly placed a different way in the fridge. We're both lefties. There was a faint smell of cologne, not mine, that I'd notice in the couch and in the bed. The confirmation came after I emptied the trash bin, and last week I put in a bag the wrong side, so things are prone to slip to the side. So this week, 2 days ago when I was getting ready for trash day, 2 used condoms were sitting in the bin. I checked my nightstand and to my surprise, I'd found the notorious black Trojan Magnum box, sitting at the back of a drawer, along with 2 other empty boxes of assorted condoms. I've never bought Magnums in my life. Finally, I left the house to run errands yesterday, and halfway to the first and farthest location I realized I left my phone at home and decided to head back as I'm useless without shopping lists and reminders. As I reached my driveway, I noticed a Porsche sitting in it. On a hunch, I parked 2 houses down and remotely opened my garage door and closed it as I would any other day. I waited a few seconds and a man of comparable age to my own jumped out from my backyard, shirt in hand. He got into his vehicle and sped off. I entered my house to find my wife curled up in her recliner with her face on her hands. I told her that I saw her friend and was going to ask what all was going on, but upon walking towards her I smelled the dreaded cologne. I spent the night in my car parked in a free parking garage. We haven't spoken since. She seemed happy. I'll reluctantly admit to noticing no change in her behavior aside from her being too tired for time and not being all that interested in cuddling or doing much else in the realms of physical touch. With me at least, we last tried before Valentine's Day this year, but her tiredness began long before that. I want to think I did my best, washed dishes, my own laundry, helped with hers, take out trash, moped swept, spent time with her away from electronics, either reading or watching show without me being on my phone. I won't go on because redundancy. I'm lost and confused. I'm not a saint, but I don't talk to other females, unless work or a simple hi to a cashier or coworker. I've stopped looking at PRN long before we got married, among other things, to show her respect. I'd like to know what I did wrong that threw her in the arms of another, but also, I'm probably not in the best place to talk to her yet. Worst comes to worse, we get divorced and I start again or something. That's probably the only scenario. I believe in forgiveness, but I also don't forget. Edit 1. I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to the kind souls out here. You hear about it, know someone goes through it, and you don't think twice until it happens to you. I want to say that I'll be me in no time. But it will take time. For the moment, I am consulting with a lawyer. I'm not wishing to drag this out. The house is a rental, so I'll deal with the lease as well. Through friends I've gotten 2 suitcases worth of clothes out of the house. My electronics are with me, and our bank account is just hers with enough money for the week. Streaming passwords have been changed and I found a room with our church pastor. It will be a long road. I'm repeating the phrase "it's not your fault" as many times in my head as I can. It seems to help. I might move back home or maybe just start anew someplace else. I have some marketable skills and certifications, so hopefully that comes in handy. I'll keep y'all posted in future, but till then, thanks guys. Story 2. I just left my wife. And I feel 100% fine about it. I have a Reddit account, however, I thought I'd use a throwaway for this one. 10 years ago I thought I had the perfect life. Upper 6-figure job, beautiful wife, clean house, 2 new cars, and a child on the way. My job made me happy and I was good at it, and the stability was great. My wife loved me for me and ignored my flaws as I tried to perfect them. In return, I adored her and we seemed to be the perfect couple. People would always compliment us, and talk about how envious they were of our relationship and everything. It kept getting better. I kept getting promotions, the kids, now 3, were born, and we eventually moved from an ordinary house to an incredibly nice one. My wife was doing very well in her career, optometrist, and we took fun vacations every year. Again, I thought I had it made. I don't know how this would have prompted it, but in early 2015, I bought her a Tesla for her birthday. She hadn't gotten a new car since 2008, and I kept getting new cars, therefore I surprised her. She loved it, loved me, and I remember spending that entire day just taking rides in it and figuring out how all of the gadgets and icons worked. It was complete downhill from there. I don't know how that would have triggered anything, but in the months following, she became increasingly distant from not only me, but our children. My oldest 10, F in particular, felt hurt by this and would often try to ensue conversations with her mother, in order to get her talking. Some days this would work and she would be pleasant, others it would have the opposite effect. The first time I suspected that I was no longer her man of choice was in July 2016 when I noticed she was no longer going to yoga classes, but telling me she was. We were on the same phone plan, and part of that plan was we could see our locations of our phones. I was routinely browsing the app one day, and noticed she appeared to be at someone's house. Since she had been irrationally angry the day prior to leaving, I didn't question her about it when she got home from yoga. Instead, I chose to closely observe where she went during her yoga times. It would always seem to end up at the same house, a well-off neighborhood probably a step above ours a little north of town. I was getting ready to confront her when I noticed that she had been returning to yoga again. During this period, she became incredibly distant and hormonal. My entire family had noticed this behavior going on for over a year now, but I had had enough. I sat her down and asked her what was going on. She gave me the cold shoulder, and when I questioned her about the yoga locations, she accused me of stalking, invading privacy, and being a grade A DCK. That's when I asked her, "Are you cheating on me?" Of course, the answer was no. What followed in the weeks to come was distrust, hatred, and plain anger towards me. It was clear she knew I had caught on, and was now trying to play the "I can't believe you'd think this" victim card. But I knew. I saw through it all. When she finally admitted she had seen and slept with another man, that's when I made my mistake. I forgave her. She told me she loved me, she loved our family, and in that moment, I believed her. I thought she could change. I was wrong. We tried marriage therapy. We tried taking adult days. It seemed to work. We were happy, and she was genuinely having fun, and it seemed like I had the older back. I was relieved. This allowed me to pour more time into my kids and my work, and have less stress overall. My business trip to San Diego, I live on the East Coast, USA, was cut short when my colleague fell ill, and our clients insisted that we reschedule. It was a hassle, but we caught the next flight out, and returned home. I'm not sure why I didn't tell her I was coming home, but I just didn't. Maybe I wanted it to be a surprise? The only surprise I received when I pulled into the driveway was seeing a Ford SUV in my garage, and finding not one, but two men in my bed. With my wife. This all happened yesterday. I'm finally putting it into words. My wife started babbling when it happened, desperately trying to explain. I heard none of it. I walked out of my room, went to the basement, and poured myself a drink. I could hear the men upstairs leaving, and when I returned upstairs, it was my wife sitting there, clothed, with a sad smile on her face. She started talking, but I wouldn't have it. I told her to get out. I told her to get out of my house. I informed her that I'd get her stuff to her by the end of the week. She tried to pull the "what about the kids" Beale shit, but I was just done. I'm sad, but not for her. I'm sad for my kids, and I'm sad for whatever poor soul she meets next. I will fight hard for my kids, but my biggest fear is losing them. I know the court will rule incredibly in favor of mothers. I hope they realize that I've spent the last 3 years doing my best to mend a broken marriage for my family, and nothing has worked. I told my kids this morning. They asked why Mom didn't spend the night last night. I didn't make them go to school today, they're all upstairs together. This whole situation is terrible for everyone involved, and it could have been completely preventable. I don't pity my wife. I hope that she is one label for the rest of her life: cheater. I want it to follow her. I want people to know. She is a prominent optometrist in our area. This could very well hurt her business if word spreads, which it very well may. Thank you all for listening. If you have undergone something similar, I'd love to chat. Edit, what a wave of support. Wow. I will try and get back to all of your comments, please forgive me if I do not. This makes me feel a lot better. I've never been gilded before.